Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Big East Rewind. I am Chuck Everson from Villanova University, your host, and my co-host, my partner in crime, my point guard, as always, number 23, Sonny Spera from Syracuse University. How are you, Sonny?
I'm doing great, Chuck. Guess what? We got another guard in the house, man. I
know. Listen,
it warms my heart. Not only guard, but a fellow point guard from Syracuse. So I'm feeling mighty big today, man.
Yeah, the Orange Men are here. That's great. You know, it's always good to have one of your Syracuse brothers show up and
he always brings the big guys, and he's always talking big guy junk, man. So it's just nice to have some guards.
I would say probably 60% of our playing guests, I'm not talking about media and everything, are all fairly big guys, Sonny. Would you say that?
I would say that. Yeah, I would.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's because they don't get any love on the court anymore. It's like dinosaurs. They're extinct, Sonny. That's the problem. You know, it's like we had a bunch of T-Rexes in here and, you know, that's it, you know.
So we got to change the narrative then. We
got to change the narrative a little bit. That's right. It's always good to give everybody a shot, Sonny. And this guy was good at getting everybody shots. How's that for a segue, Sonny?
That is nice.
How about that?
We are professional journalists.
I have to say, that's professional. This guy was great at getting guys shots at Syracuse. He played there from 92 to 96. He was on that 96 team that went to the finals against Kentucky with John Wallace. And he, like I said, he got the ball to everybody. He knew how to distribute. He knew how to take care of his big guys, Sonny. He knew how to take care of all his teammates. His teammates call him Z, Lazarus, Sims. So, first of all, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming and joining us on a Sunday evening. I know there's a lot of other stuff you could be doing with your family, but we appreciate you taking time out to hang with us and talk Big East basketball with us as we do right here on the Big East Rewind. So let's jump right in, man. Where did you get your start in the game? Where did you learn how to play the game that we all love?
I grew up, my mom played basketball and baseball. My brother played with Howard Trish, who's a former alumni of Syracuse as well at Corcoran. But I really grew up playing in the parks. Literally just a kid who never wanted to go in the house and being out in the parks. The parks was, you know, local. In every neighborhood, you got your parks. And just actually a referee, Mike Kitts, just took a liking to me, a shy kid who used to visit the parks, and we would play pig. And, you know, and I didn't know it, but he would let me win for soda. So it just got me into, you know, liking basketball.
Now, and that was in the Syracuse area, Z?
Yeah, Syracuse, New York. I grew up in the south side of Syracuse. Yep.
How old were you, Z, when this was going on?
I was about 8 or 9. About 8.
When did you get into like organized ball?
Organized ball, I started playing organized ball around probably 10 or 11, playing with Mickey Walker.
Yeah.
Another Syracuse legend AU guy. Playing with Mickey upstate basketball, and he used to play in the state fair games. And it was big in New York was the Empire State Game. So once I got to like junior high and high school, you wanted to make that because that was our Olympics.
Right. Yeah, that was big. They still have that going. They call it the Basketball Coach Association of New York, the BCANY game. So they still keep that.
Yeah,
basketball.
It left Empire State Games, and then it went to Salt City Games, and then it changed names, and it just started getting real politicky. It started moving away from the essence of how it used to be. I loved it how it used to be because it was literally like the Olympics for New York.
Yeah, it was great.
When you played in those games, did you play against any future Big East rivals?
I actually played against all of them because each borough and each region in New York had a team. So St. John's would put teams on Long Island, New York team. Villanova, we had a couple of Villanova guys who were from New York. So if you lived in the area, you could play no matter what college you went to. So, but you could only have 2 of the same university kids on the same team. So with St. John, Seton Hall, and all them being in the same area, I would play against like the Mo Browns, the Felipe Lopez's, and actually play Aaron Williams because they would be at home in the summertime, and they could play you can play in your local region or where you are. So if you went to school, even if an out of town kid was in the Big East and he stayed for the summertime, he could play in the games. So it was
Yeah,
actually good that we all ran up against each other and would play against each other.
And it was good for the rival too, because you're playing for bragging rights too when you get to see these guys during the season as well, right?
Exactly. Like one of my fond memories was watching Kenny Anderson. Like Kenny Anderson played when I played. I was scholastic and he was collegiate, but to get to see him right before he went to Georgia Tech coming out of Archbishop. And the great thing about it, I even saw Mike Tyson in the dome. So
yeah, he was good. You know, Kenny was he was good.
Yeah.
He was one of those guys that was in Sports Illustrated as a very young age as somebody to watch. You know, I remember I think he was a 7th or an 8th grader, and he was in Sports Illustrated as somebody to watch. And you know, you always hear about him because I'm a Long Island guy myself, and you always hear about him.
You hear about the myth. You never get to see him, but you would hear about him.
Right, exactly. There's no social media back then, so you hear all this talk about this kid. You know, same thing with Pearl when he was playing, and other guys from Kenny Smith and Mark Jackson and those guys too. All those great point guards from the city. You know,
I had the luxury of being young, but because Pearl was at Syracuse and Sonny and them were at Syracuse, I was so close to able to go across the hill and see him at Thornton Park and at the parks, and not just in the dome where you couldn't get to them. We could see them guys playing at the park.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me about, now you played at Henniger. Who was your coach back then?
Late great Joe Mazzella.
Okay.
Joe Mazzella. I played varsity in the 7th grade.
You did?
And all through. Yeah.
Wow. So 6 years on varsity.
6 years on varsity, became a Nike McDonald's All-American. Before all these All-American camps, there was only Nike ABCD. I was invited to the top 50 by Sonny Vaccaro. Went down there. I was the year with the Fab Five with Chris Webber, Jalen Rose. Actually, me and Roderick Rose and Jason Kidd were the first juniors to be invited.
Gotcha. Well, your game and Jason Kidd game are so similar. Same size, great distributor, smart, 2 plays ahead, coach on the court. What was the experience like at Henniger now? Because now you got a lot on your shoulders now.
Yeah. It's actually, I loved it. It was a great experience. My team was very talented, it was team oriented. Coach Mazzella kept us that way. We played for each other. My junior and sophomore year, we went undefeated for both years. Lost my senior year in playoffs, but it was just one of the best times I had, just camaraderie wise. And the thing about Mazzella, he was like, if you play for me, you're going to college. So anybody from first to last on his roster, he put them in college, and that was the goal. So with me being in the forefront, my goal was to get people in the building so that they can see my teammates too.
Right. So now, back then they had the AAU was kind of in its infancy back then, right? Because Sonny and I are 10 years older than you, roughly. And then we didn't really get to do that. We played at camps, but you played in the AAU circuit, right?
Yes. When it was really getting competitive, I played against, the great Bobby Hurley. Like I played for Mickey Walker, and I had Fred Caldwell and Dorsey Levens and Bernard Blunt and guys of that. And we would literally only lose to St. Anthony's. We would be in Vegas or all the national tournaments, and we would either end up in championships or winning it or losing it to them.
Now you played with John Ross too, right? Right, with Mickey?
John played with me. Arthur Long, who went to Cincinnati, ended up at Seattle. Like we had some pros.
Yeah, I remember John talking about that. Yeah,
Eric Mobley.
Yeah. So John was on with us, Z, and he talked very fondly of that team. He said you guys only had like 6 guys, right?
Yeah,
going out and kicking everybody's ass. That's what it looked. That's what he said. He just basically said he ran roughshod over everybody.
It was a collective group. It was eclectic because we also had Rick Brunson, who was from Syracuse but moved to Boston, and he ended up going to Temple, but he was a Syracuse guy, so it was literally tri-state.
Oh, Rick. So that's Jalen Brunson's dad, right? Is that you're talking about? Rick that played?
Yeah.
So Rick, I know Rick pretty well. I didn't know he was from that area.
Yeah, he's from Syracuse. We played at AAU. We actually grew up in Catholic school league together.
Oh, is that
He was
right?
my
I'll have to
two
mention
guard for
that to him
Mickey.
next time I see him. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, he
Okay.
was my two guard. John was our four. We had another guy named Modi Cox. Art Long was our five man, and we would run up and down the coast.
You know, I'll be honest with you. I'm not familiar with the other two guys that you just named, but those three that you just said, that's a pretty good team right there. I know that. I mean, you had all the bases covered at that point, you know?
Yeah.
So you guys played all over the place, or you guys did a lot of traveling and stuff?
Yeah,
Because
we did a lot of traveling in Vegas.
you're coming from so far up north. I mean, you know, you got to go to where the run is, you know, kind of. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, and you got to remember in that back in days AU area, the national tournaments was more up east than they were out west. So we didn't have to travel too far. We would be in Connecticut, New York. We went to Vegas for a few, but most of them was up east. So we didn't travel too far like they do now.
Yeah, they go everywhere. I know that.
Yeah. Well,
you know?
It's diluted now, so everybody can throw a tournament, and it's different.
Yeah.
You have to know which ones to go to and which ones to stay away from, and you learn that only by going to them. As a coach, Sonny and I both coached our kids in the AAU and traveled all over the place. We crossed paths numerous times on the road, and you're right. And there's some tournaments that I have to go to Boo Williams, right? Down in
Harvey,
Boo Harvey, down there, and then you had to
Boo
go
Williams too, right?
No, Boo Williams. It was Boo Williams,
NBA too, right?
Boo Williams, Boo Harvey played in the NBA. So he had the big tournaments. McDonough on the girls' side had the big tournaments, and
McDonough.
It was Philly Bell's guy that so you had to know who to go to. So because that's where all the coaches were going, right? So is that how your recruitment got started through the AAU? Is that how you?
Honestly, yeah, because of being at Syracuse, and at the time Syracuse being known for just Syracuse University, people didn't come see me in high school, even though we had a great record. When I joined Mickey is when it started. And it was a weird concept because him and Maz didn't get along because of they thought Mickey was stealing their kids, or Mickey was able to put us where they couldn't.
Yeah, right.
So a lot of the local area high school coaches didn't want their kids to play for Mickey.
So what did it come down? What did it come down to for you, Z? Who were the schools at the end?
It was interesting. And it was weird because Syracuse was probably not the last decision, but a late decision. I was recruited, honestly, who I didn't get recruited by. The only one I didn't get recruited by was St. John's. I was recruited by everybody in the country, John Thompson. I kind of didn't go to Georgetown. I was kind of scared of him at the time. And playing for my coach, I played the whole game. And John was at that time, he had Smith and Mike Brown, and he was subbing 5 at a time.
Right.
And you're playing, you're like, oh, I don't want to go there. You're going to be subbing everybody every 5 minutes, 5 at a time. You're not going to get that much run. So I kind of didn't go there. Plus, it was intimidating with a young, and I was only like 175 at the time, skinny kid, 6'4", like, okay. So my top 5 was Kentucky, Georgia Tech, Connecticut, Boston College, and Syracuse.
Wow.
It's a nice lineup.
Couldn't go wrong with any of those, right?
Yeah. And I was, again, I go back to the story where I was Nike ABC top 50, and we went to the camp the 2 years. Lonzo Mourning, Billy Owens, all those guys as our counselors, they would wake us up by throwing water on us and pulling us out of our dorm room. So Connecticut and Boston College got X'd out because I hated dorm rooms. I was like, I'm not going anywhere with a dorm room where somebody can just walk in and haze me.
It's pretty funny.
So that was my criteria right there, was no dorm rooms. So, and actually I had Pitt was on my radar too. So I had Pitt too. So those 3 I went to visit, and there were dorm rooms, and I was like, no, I'm good.
So who was the guy that was essential for you? What was the guy? Was it Bernie? Was it Coach B? What was
Bernie
the guy?
Was my guy. Bernie was my guy. Bernie recruited me. Bernie was like a father figure. I still communicate with Bernie to this day. Great guy to me. Utmost praise for me. Bernie's a great guy.
Bernie was like everybody's guy. I think
My
he
guy.
was the glue. We just spoke to him about a week ago or so and had him on, and he was the glue that kept all of those guys together and still does, even though he's not coaching anymore.
He was that father figure. He was that guy that, he was, even though I didn't play my first year, he's like, Z, just keep working, get your time. But if I did something wrong, he was on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He kept
How
me
about
accountable.
classes? He was on you with
He
classes.
kept me accountable. And I didn't graduate when in '96. It took me a year. So I would be scared to call back, because the first thing when I would call back, hey coach, how you doing? Did you graduate yet? Did you get your classes done? So I was like, I'm not calling because I know the first thing out of his mouth is, if you don't get to a class, then I'm coming to get you.
Yeah. He was right on top of it. I know that. Many guys have said that. Many guys have said that.
He was investing in us as human beings, not just athletes.
Yeah.
So now you're talking about going to Syracuse. You make your decision. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did it factor into account? Did you know that you weren't going to be able to play in the NCAA your first year when you went? Or did that happen and you go, oh no, now what are we going to do?
No, because my first year I got there was 91, and we were eligible that year. It was the following year, 92.
Okay.
It was because they did it to Conrad. It was Conrad's senior year, 92.
Okay.
So coming in, I didn't know. I didn't really pay much attention. It was home. My family could see me. My mom could drive up the hill and see all my games. My brother, they've been to all my games my whole life, even AAU traveling out of town. They've been to everything. So that was one of the deciding factors. Not going to the NCAA wasn't big, because Syracuse was seen almost twice a week on TV.
Yeah, that was a big deal back then,
Yeah.
and it still is, I guess. They're on. When we first started, one of the things that drew both of us to the schools we went to was the fact that you get to play on national television every week, which was pretty cool.
For sure.
Yeah.
So when you came in,
Mm-hmm.
who was in front of you? Who was the point guard that was there?
I'm gonna tell you how it happened. I was my senior year. Billy and Derek and the coaches would always come to my games. Stevie, all those guys would come to our games.
Yep.
So I got real close to Billy and Derek, and Billy was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna stay." He was like, "I'm staying." I was like, "You sure?" We having this conversation. Like, he would take me out, we go eat and stuff. You sure? He's like, "Yeah, I'm staying. I'm staying. I'm not going. I'm gonna stay my other year. I like it. I'm loving it." As soon as I signed, Billy's like, "I'm out of here." I was like, "Oh my goodness." So coming in, Adrian Archie was the starting point guard. Michael Edwards was a junior, Philly guy.
Yep.
Michael Edwards.
Mike.
So we had those two. Hopkins was the 3-2. We had Hopkins, and I came in again with
John,
four
right?
more All-Americans. Myself, Anthony Harris from Connecticut, Luke Jackson from Texas, Glenn Secunda from Philadelphia area, Pennsylvania area, JB Reeve Snyder, and we came in with a nice crew.
JB, yep.
And
that was a squad.
Yeah. So we were tough. We were reckoning. Anthony ended up transferring after his sophomore year. Lukey and I stayed. Yep. Actually, one of the leading scorers in Big East history, Lawrence Moulton, was actually in that class too.
Yeah, Moulton. Yeah, he was something else. I mean, he scored pretty much at will, at that point, right?
Trivia question: up until just recently, who was the leading scorer in the Big East history? It was Lawrence for years.
Lawrence.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you might not have heard of him if not the day before we played Florida State in the ACC Big East Challenge. I think either Hop or someone else goes down because Lawrence wasn't playing. And this is the preseason, so Lawrence wasn't playing. Lawrence wasn't getting any time. He was back. He was with me. He was in not in the doghouse, but he just wasn't getting any minutes. We were freshmen. Somebody went down, and it was a forward, so it was Hop. Hop or somebody went down with an ankle injury, and that morning he called Lawrence and said, "You're starting."
And he used to wear the high socks. He had the high socks on.
That day of Florida State, he had 21 and had 21 ever since.
Yeah. To his credit too, he showed up when the record got broken because he held that for a long time. He showed
Oh,
up to congratulate the kid that broke the record, right,
Oh,
Sonny?
he loves that. He loved that record.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he had it for a long time. People,
for a long
Yes,
very
he
few
did.
people knew that.
Yeah,
You know,
but that goes with the longevity. You know, you guys had it before me, and we had it. Like it was the AU. I think teaches these kids different. Like they switch AU teams. So
Yeah.
now you got to think about with the college portal and the transfer thing. These guys don't understand the loyalty part of it,
yeah,
and the working through it. You know, it's not going to be easy. You got to work through
That's
it.
the big thing, the working through it. You know, you have to learn how to deal with adversity. You know,
Sherman said the same thing. Sherman had the
Yeah.
same situation.
he did.
He
Yeah,
got to Syracuse. He was behind Pearl his first year. You know, struggled with dealing with
Mhm.
that, and then went on to have a phenomenal career. You know,
Because
not
he
good.
had Duncan
phenomenal.
too, right? And Duncan transferred, right?
Who's that?
I think you're right.
Sherman had Duncan with him too, and Duncan transferred because he didn't want to stick it out. He went to Rutgers, I think.
I believe so.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. You know, it's funny because if that was to happen today with those same two caliber of players, Sherm might, if he wasn't that type of guy, Sherm might have said, "I'm getting in the portal. I'm out of here." It's too easy to leave. You know, now it's too easy to leave, and that's part of the issue with all these coaches retiring is, you know, you have to continually recruit a kid after you think you have him for 4 years. You got to keep recruiting him every year to keep him there. You know,
Yeah,
a lot of work, man.
definitely.
How do you keep listen, somebody's got to play and somebody's got to sit, you know? How do you keep the guy that's sitting so engaged that he wants to stay and maybe do great things when it's his time to do great things, you know?
Yeah. You
Well,
turn into psychologists.
Yeah.
Well, and Coach B too. Like if you're not in that 7, you're not seeing much time.
Oh man, I got stories. Like I was the first 2 years I wasn't in that 7, and they would literally be like, once Big E started, they would be on the other end throwing footballs and playing dodgeball while we're down there in the hustle beating each other up. And I
Right.
used to look at Bernie like, why am I working so hard? I'm not playing. He's like, because you're not playing. I was like, but they're the one losing or they're the one having a bad game. Why am I working? And he was like, well, we got to save their legs.
Yeah. That's crazy, right? As a coach, that's something that you got to deal with. That's been since the beginning of time with coaches and stuff. They get involved with stuff like that. And sometimes as players, we get a little caught up in it emotionally and everything. And you say, you know, you don't understand why things happen. But as you get older and you have that relationship, hopefully with the staff and your teammates and stuff, you kind of realize, oh, okay, I see what they were doing now. But in the moment, it's hard to.
And that's it helped me when I became a college coach, because it helped me because I went through it. I can kind of relate with the kids and kind of talk with them because I went through it. Like I kept Scoop wanted to leave because he wasn't playing when Johnny came. We got an NBA Rookie of the Year. Mike Carter Williams wanted to leave after a week because he was playing behind Scoop, and I had to talk him off the ledge. Like these kids didn't understand, and Sonny knows back then, coach didn't really talk to you. He subbed you out and wouldn't say a word to you. So you wondering like, what did I do wrong?
You know, while you're touching on it, Z, talk about your time as the player development guy at Syracuse. What was it like being on Coach B's staff, first of all? And also, what was your role? Was it just working guys out, or was it the mental? Were you the team psychologist at times too?
I was that same team psychologist. I was the one to mentally get them to understand what coach wanted.
Right.
To help them understand how to get on the course for him, because I played for him, because I went through it. I could tell Scoop, like for instance, Scoop and Johnny. Johnny was a freak of nature. Flash, hops, the whole shoot the thing, a whole thing. Scoop was slow. Scoop was more of a point guard, more of a savvy guard, bigger. And I had to tell Johnny, he thought he had to be like Johnny. I had to tell him eventually. I said, yo, you got him by 3 inches. You got him by 20 pounds. Why are you trying to go by him and not run him over?
Yeah.
I said, stop trying to beat him. And he didn't understand. I said, just get him into the paint and raise over the top of him. And he started figuring out. And then Johnny used to get mad. Why are you just posting me up? Or why are you taking me in the paint? Like, you know, Johnny tried to make him spin. I'm like, look, you're a big guard. You spin. Little guards want you to spin because they can get under you.
Right. Right.
I go, so once you get him on it, once you as a big guard, and I'm 6'5", I go, once you as a big, and Sonny knows, once you get a little guard on your hip, it's over. You don't need to do anything else. Take him for the long ride.
And the guys on the team must have respected the hell out of you, Z, because you've been through it. You've been there. You've done that. You know, you were part of it. You were once in their shoes, you know. So that had to help you tremendously with the relationships that you formed. Did you take anything from how Bernie treated you when you were dealing with some of these guys?
I did, but you would think so. But these kids, and I say kids, and that means under me, they don't do their history. Like when I came in and Pearl and them came back, or Sherman and them came back, I knew who they were.
Yeah.
When Hop called me to come back one time, I came back and Jerry and them was struggling. I walked in the gym to work out with Hop and Jerry. I was playing overseas. Jerry didn't know who I was. So then when I came back with Scoop and Johnny and them, we end up, and this story with me and Rick Brunson, we're in the dome. We see Paul and we're playing in the dome. Sonny knows we play in the dome during camp season. They play at night. And all the players are there. So we're in the dome playing. And Paul's going at it, running his mouth. He's talking. We're beating him, but he's scoring. So he says something to actually not me, to Rick. And Rick's still with the Knicks. And Rick goes, what? So, okay. So Rick guards him and starts tearing him up, scoring him, stopping him. And Paul goes, man, who are you? He's like, that's why you shouldn't talk trash to people. So everybody, so he goes, and he doesn't know who I am. So he goes, I'm about to be the point guard at Syracuse. You know what I mean? I go, okay. I got one of those rafters up. I got one of those banners up there. He goes, who are you? I go, Lazarus Sims. He goes, oh, I didn't know who you were. Oh, man, I need you to show me some things. I go, that's why, young fella, you shouldn't just talk trash to people. You don't know who you're talking to. And I go, and that's Rick Brunson from the Knicks. He go, oh, man, I'm sorry, man. And then he sat down with us for an hour. But to go back into practice, Boeheim used to have me practice with them when I first got on the staff, because I just came off a plane.
Yeah, but don't you think, Z, that falls a little bit on Coach Boeheim? I mean, and Sonny and I go through this a lot. I mean, he's got to be talking about who's who. And at Villanova, they have a thing called "We play for those who came before us." That's their thing. So when I go to practice, and I was a role player, I backed up Eddie Pinckney, so Eddie's an All-American. I wasn't seeing the floor that often. If Ed was feeling okay and he wasn't in foul trouble, which is part of the game, But those guys know me just as if they knew everybody, because that all comes from Jay Wright and now Kyle Neptune,
And you're right, they should, but with the loss of Bernie, they don't have that.
Yeah.
Bernie had from the first time he was on the coaching staff to the last time he was on coach staff, he had the rosters on the wall. He had the pictures of the teams on the wall.
He had, Chuck, not only that, he had an individual shot of every single player.
Really?
He had right across his wall. He had them all. Everyone was framed. It was a framed individual shot, usually taken from like the program. I remember that. I'm glad you mentioned that, Z. Every single one. All the way back to this.
That's the way to do it, because if one of those guys walks in the gym, you want to be able to know who you're talking to. So you don't run into a situation. It's a simple thing, It
was different because he even had the walk-ons. Like he had anybody that came in the program, he had them on the wall.
And listen, if you put that jersey on, you were part of the team, and that's it. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Listen, everybody's job is different, but the level that is the same. In other words, everybody gets treated the same, but your job is different. That's the whole thing.
And I see what you're saying on your part, but on our part, and Sonny knows it, when we go into the Mello Center, it's only those guys.
Oh, wow.
Okay. It's Mello, it's Billy, it's Derek, it's the guys that the people already notice.
Right.
So even when we come into our coming back together, when we do things with us, it's because we do it. Yeah. And we do it as the players. We get together, we do the things, because when they give us tickets, we sit in a certain area, and Derek and John are sitting, and Billy are sitting by the court.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I get that, but I mean, I'm as far as, without getting too deep into where that went and all that stuff, it was just for a young guy coming in. Like, you're getting back to what you said, a lot of those guys got to know the history. They got to know the history. I mean, if you're going to play there, the program is bigger than any one kid. coming in. I mean, you can't be that full of yourself when you're coming in.
Let me tell you, to
Right.
Z's point, I was gonna be an incoming freshman at Syracuse. So we always play when camp was going on at night. Coach wanted all the guys playing, right? Whether you were a existing player, coming in player, or some alumni. So I remember, and I knew Jimmy Lee because Jimmy's from down here. He's from Windsor. So I remember him. He played on the 74 team and his brother, but some of the other guys that he played with, I didn't know their names, right? It was
Right.
Mark Waddick, Steve Shaw. And we went out there, and here we are, and we're playing against these 5 slow white guys, right? That are literally 6'4" is Mike Lee's their biggest guy, and he's a center. And we got Sean is 6'9", we got Andre 6'8". They kicked our tail all over the court because the ball moved. They set screens. The ball was like poetry, and we were like, we couldn't really figure it out, But we didn't know all of the guys, but I became very good friends with a lot of them. But to Z's point, it wasn't really like, oh, hey, these are the guys. It was just like, let's go play.
Right. Right.
Hello,
Right.
wake
And
up.
they don't bring us in as freshmen and sit us in a room and say, all right, this is that. Like I said, how Sonny said, Bernie has this wall of fame and just with his players, and you go to the next coaches and he has just the players he took pictures with, or just the players he recruited. And Boeheim only has the pictures of Billy and Derek and his USA stuff.
Wow. That's different. I mean, I think it's so important to the culture of a program and the team that the guys know who the people were that came before them. It's
so Z, you got to take us on the ride in '96. Talk to us how that season started. Because John took some credit. He said, listen, I had everybody come work out with me in Rochester. Talk about the setup.
Rochester.
I'm telling you, here's your shot, man. You're on. It's your shot. Tell us about the season and what went into before the season and then the season as it went. Talk to us about it.
So then I got to tell you about the season before.
Okay.
Because that year before, let's start it that way. I was going into that year before, I was supposed to be starting point guard. Adrian was leaving. He ends up bringing in Michael Lloyd.
Yep.
I'm still told I'm the starter, going all the way in. And he started this back and forth. And me and Michael were good friends. So then he started this back and forth with me. Well, whoever plays better is the one who's going to start. And you know me, you've seen me. I've never lost scrimmage. So we would go in the scrimmage. I would win the scrimmage. He'd be like, oh, you didn't score enough. Next scrimmage, I would go in. I would score more. He'd go, oh, you didn't pass enough. It was always, he was trying to find a reason to give Michael that spot because not knowing, and I found out later, he had told Michael parents if they come, he would start them.
Right. So
long story short, we go in the season, first game. I walk into the locker room. Michael's name on it. Coach don't tell you. He just puts the name on the board. I walk in the locker room. I'm like, what the heck is going on? I grew up humble, Mozilla. I'm just going to do my job. So we playing through the season. Now we're in Arkansas won it that year. So now we're going into the season where Arkansas is trying to get back to the tournament. This is when they go back to the finals, they lose. So, but they play us in Texas. Luke's a senior. John's a junior. John's thinking about going to the draft. We're playing Arkansas. Michael was supposed to go to Arkansas. He ended up having to go to prep school. So he comes to, junior college. So he comes to us. We're playing them, going back and forth the whole game. This is with Nolan Richardson, the 60 minutes of hell.
Yeah.
The 40 minutes of hell.
40 minutes of hell,
yeah. Scotty Thurman, all those guys. So we're playing them stalemate. And this is back when we were playing man-to-man, too. So we're playing them. And we're going well with them. End up, Michael's playing bad late in the second half. So he puts me in. I'm playing where we start winning. Michael's on the sideline yelling at him, what are you doing? You know I was supposed to go here. How can you be sitting me on the sideline? We end up going up. He literally, Boeheim calls timeout to get me out of the game.
Wow. Okay.
Me on the sideline, he said, they go, Z, I'm gonna give you a breather. I'm going, I'm fine. I'm good. No, I'm gonna give you a breather. I'm gonna get my John blows up. What are you doing? What's wrong with you? He told you he's fine. What are you doing? Lukey blows up. Lukey's having the game of his life. Lukey's a senior. Lawrence is a junior. Lukey can He's trying to get to the league. He's trying to get draft camp and all that. Lukey's having about 20 something, whatever. And prior to that, Lawrence and Michael DC Baltimore. So they're having that battle too. One shoot, the other one shoots. So we're not playing well. And then with it being Arkansas with Michael in his head, you know how it goes. You guys know how it goes. So the scenario. So long story short, I don't know. We're winning. He subs me out. They start coming back. No sub. End of the half, we end up tying. So going into overtime. Coming to hide out, John goes, "What's going on? Why he not back in?" So John and Lukey are talking for me. I'm sitting on the sideline. And everybody see it. I'm good. I'm gonna be a team player. I'm cheering. I'm doing everything. I'm no pouting. John goes, "When is he going back in?" John, I'm gonna get him back in. John, I'm gonna get him back in. So, and I'm over there just listening. Lukey's like, "What? Come on, let's go. We gotta win this game. We can win this game." They go back out. We go on to another overtime. Still not in the game. Second overtime, we still think we have a turnover. They have a turnover. They're taking the ball out. Couple seconds left. We call timeout. John goes, "Are you going to put him back in or not?" John, I got this. John walks out of the huddle. You're throwing the game. End up going and Bernie, you know how Bernie is. You know Bernie. Bernie's going, "We got no more timeouts." So the whole timeout, Bernie's letting everybody know, "We got no more timeouts." He says it about 8 times. They walk on the court. He calls everybody over. No more timeouts. So now we go in. Somebody tips the ball. I think somebody tips the ball. We fall on it. Lukey falls on it. Lukey has it. Lawrence runs over and calls timeout. Technical foul. They go shoot 2 free throws. They win the game. Wow. This is for us to go to the Sweet 16. No matter of fact, the Elite 8. Wow. We walk in the locker room. John's pissed. "I don't know why you did this. We were running fine. Z never went back in the game." He goes, "I'm leaving. I'm going to the draft." "John, what are you talking about? What are you doing? I'm out." Lukey's mad. Lukey's in the corner cussing Moten out. "You did that on purpose. You cost us the game." You know, Lukey's boiling, and we're in Texas. His dad, his family there. Lukey had the game.
Yeah, it's home. Yeah.
He's having a game. He's shot. "I had a good. If we go to the next round, I got a shot to get to the league. You're already going to the league." Like he's going in town on Moten. Like it's Lawrence's fault. It was the Chris Webber thing. Like it's just a lapse of judgment.
Right.
So
right.
I stand up after they do all that. I go, "Not for nothing. I was supposed to be the one and done in high school, all this and that." I go, "Not for nothing. I'm gonna go overseas. I'm not coming back. I got nothing against nobody. I just see what's going on. Me and Michael will be seniors. If Michael's starting now, he's starting next year. I'm not coming back." He doesn't say a word to me. He's like, "Okay." So fast forward into the summer, that's when those guys, that junior college gets in trouble for somebody taking the test. The Isaac Burtons, the Michael Lloyd. So now, right before school start, they get a call. Michael can't come back to school. Michael's ineligible. I'm not coming back, and I'm one of every year. I'm the first one registered. I'm the first one in my classes. I'm there. Everything's going. It's a week in school. I'm not in school. Now, John had previously went to camp. They told him to go back, work on some things. So John starts calling me, "Z, I need you to come back." I'm like, "I'm not coming." This is my senior year. Like, I'm not registered for school in 95, 96 season.
Wow.
So John's coming to the house. Otis is coming to the house. Todd Bergen's coming to the house.
Yeah, Otis.
Yeah. Bernie's coming to the house. Wayne coming to the house. No Bayheim. Everybody's coming. Z, you got to come back.
Wayne is Wayne Morgan. He was the other assistant coach.
Wayne Morgan. Yeah. So long story short, we got a freshman in David Patrick who's coached in the league. He brought Patty Mills. He's Ben Simmons' godfather. He brought Ben Simmons into LSU. Mm-hmm. Great. And David was good, but he was a freshman. You know how Bayheim is with freshmen. So long story short, they all at the house, and one day my mom hears John's crying, and to go back, when John graduated high school, he lost in his finals in the States. And we're in the locker room. I go, "We know we're going to Syracuse." I go, "I got you. I'm going to take care of you. You don't have to worry about it." So fast track back to that year. Now John's in my house going, "You told me you was gonna take care of me. I need you for this season." And the NBA says I need to get back. I need this. I'm going, really? So
He's pulling
so
everything, man. He was
he's
pulling
pulling everything
everything you
out.
Yeah.
had.
Yeah. So my mom is upstairs ear hustling. So now John leaves and she comes downstairs. She goes, "You gave that boy your word." And I forgot to mention my father had just passed away that summer. So I really was like, I was out of it. I was like, really not coming back. Like, and she goes, "You gave that boy your word. Your father would not like that." I was like, "Man, but I can't go pay for, I can't go play for him. I can't do it." She's like, "I don't care what you think about him. You gave John your word. You need to honor your word." So long story short, go back to school. We start preseason training. Still not talking. Behan, like, and my story with Behan was my first 4 years was he would walk by me. He could see me 5 times. He would go, "Z man," and keep walking. Sonny knows he didn't speak to you. So I could see him 3 times in a row. He would go, "Z man," and keep walking. No conversation. So one day we're doing our conditioning. I'm sitting down tired. I'm sitting on the mat. Sonny knows in Manly Fieldhouse. So I'm sitting on the pole vault mat. And he comes down and sit by me. He puts his hand on my leg, and I'm like, "What? Huh. Wait." And he goes, "You know I got all confidence in you." I just get up and walk away. I'm like, "Are you serious? You haven't talked to me in 4 years. This is my 5th year. I redshirted my first year. So I've been with you before you haven't talked to me." So long story short, now we always bonded. Like the team, like I said, the players, we never all had any issue. So we just started playing, and that was a year we had one of the best records for a long time. We ended up going 14-0. We lost in Maui to UMass with Marcus Camby, Ed Bethea, and those guys.
Yeah, they were good.
Dante
Yeah.
Bright. They were good. We lost
They
to
were
Hawaii
number
with
one in the
them
country for a bit. Yeah.
for a bit. So we end up running through that. We end up in this playing Georgetown, splitting with Allen Iverson, playing Villanova. We end up having a good season. So then we, just started running. And like I said, we, unlike other guys, like we did things off the court with each other. We really did stuff. We ate with each other. We went bowling. We did parties with each other. Like everybody liked each other, from Sapola to, and also we had McNabb on our team that year.
I was just gonna say he was a walk-on, right?
It was actually a dual scholarship.
Oh, wow.
He had football and basketball. Matter of fact, a quick story with that. When I left, Boeheim, he called me and said Boeheim told him if he quit football, he would be starting for basketball.
Really? Wow.
And I tell you this because we probably win a championship if he plays him. And he wouldn't play him because he said because he missed half of the season with football. And he owed it to the other guy. Donovan was damn good.
He was
like
stud.
freakishly good.
Well, it worked all right. It worked out all right for him with the Eagles,
Yeah, but I could have got a championship out of it.
Did okay. Yeah.
But I could have got my title. I told John Wallace I had him, man, and Donovan McNabb cost me.
Right. Yeah, he hurt me with that one. So we in the tournament, we running, everything's going well. And John was our scoring leader. He was our guy. But I was the guy behind the scenes. So we would go in the media and they would all be like, "Hey, John, what'd you think about this?" "Oh, Lazarus." "Oh, talk to Z. Z was the guy. Z was this." So I was media like off. Like, y'all didn't talk to me for 4 years. I don't need to talk to y'all now. And they would just push it on me. "Lazarus, oh, well, how'd y'all do it this year?" "Oh, we just listened to Z." Then Otis jumped in. "Oh, Otis, how you had a great game?" "Oh, Z told me what to do." I was like, "Oh, y'all throwing me under the bus here. Like, this is crazy."
No.
So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you because Jason Sapola, didn't he have an interesting track to get to Syracuse?
Yeah, he went to JUCO. He went to one of the top JUCOs, I think Chipotle or somewhere like that. I'm not sure where he was supposed to go, like right out of high school, but yeah, he had a couple years of JUCO and he came to us, and this was early because Boeheim wasn't really a JUCO guy.
Right. That's what I thought. Yeah, he had a different track in. Yeah.
He had a different track. He wasn't really a JUCO guy. Jason was good, and then we also had Marius Janulis.
Yeah, Janulis. Yeah.
So we had two great shooters.
Yeah, but Jason, right? So you're not part of the culture for a long time. He had to be integrated quickly, and you were in charge of this whole thing.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
did you do anything to bring him into the fold quicker? You had to.
Um, Nothing major, but more we did stuff off the court and then after practice to integrate him with what we did.
Right.
He kind of fell in line. These guys coming in. He came in, ball, 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 and I was like, "Look, I'm only giving you the ball when I want to give you the ball." So once you understand that and realize it, then we'll be all happy.
That was Clyde Vaughn X, don't you think, Sonny?
That was pretty good. Yeah.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, because JUCO guys come in and they think I got to score to get out of here.
Yeah.
They're not coming in to integrate. They're coming in to do their thing and go.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why Boeheim really didn't do the JUCO guys, because they came in. They had the label of being selfish.
Yeah, we didn't do any JUCO guys at Nova either. Coach Mass didn't believe in that either. Same, So same type of thing.
So yeah, he was that. And then we had a two-headed monster. We had Otis and JB Schneider.
Yeah. Yep. Two studs in the center. Yep.
Todd was a sophomore.
Yep.
He came on. We were well-rounded in every spot, to be honest. I led the country in minutes because I never came out, because again, he didn't trust my backup, so I didn't get us up. So that's kind of one of the more reasons why we did a little bit more zone 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But we went through I forgot where we played, but we were supposed to lose every year. Dick Vitale picked us every round to lose. So we started off, I forgot who we beat. Then we were supposed to Memphis. We were in the bracket with Memphis, and they were overall number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew who we were. So when we were coming down the tunnel, they're playing Malik Rose. This what puts Malik Rose in the league. They're playing Malik Rose, but they're coming down the tunnel talking to us. Oh, we'll see you next round. Oh, we can't wait for this matchup. And this when they had Michael Wilson and Lorenzen Wright. They had a squad. So they, like I said, they were number 1. I think number 1 in the country, but they were number 1 in the tournament overall. Okay. And they end up playing Malik, and Malik ended up destroying them. And then the next round, so we played Malik, and then we ended up playing every team we played had 2 or 3 pros except for Malik. So we ended up playing after Malik, we ended up playing Georgia. Mm-hmm. Georgia has Carlos Strong and Shannon Anderson, that crew.
Yeah,
we beat them, and then in double overtime. And in overtime, John hits that shot. I'm pretty sure he talked about that on your show. Because I said it was a 2, he said it was a 3.
Right. He did.
And then we end up playing Kansas to go to the league, to the Final Four. And they had Jock Vaughn, Rafe LaFrance, Paul Pierce, John Haas. They had a crew.
That was a squad, yeah.
So
they always have a squad, man.
They always.
So who was the Final Four when you get to the Final
Mississippi
Four?
State.
Yeah, Mississippi State. You
with
guys
Marcus
beat them.
Dampier and Dante Jones. And
Jones.
They had UMass and Kentucky.
UMass and Kentucky was on the other side, and Syracuse played Mississippi State, right?
Yep.
Wow.
Exactly.
But Mississippi State, we handled them pretty easily, no?
Yeah, we handled them well. Otis had a great game. He I can't even say stalemated Dampier. He eclipsed Dampier that night. He was phenomenal.
Wow.
Okay. And then, now you're up against Kentucky they got arguably 4 or 5 NBA studs.
They have 5 pros. They had Antoine Walker, Tony Delk, Ron Mercer, Derek Anderson, Wayne Turner, and Michael Epps.
Yeah.
And then I forgot who they had coming off the bench. So short story about how you said integrating Jason. We're talking, and we try to get Boeheim to go man, because we could play. We played them earlier, so we figured we can beat him man. But Boeheim was like, nope, we're playing zone. And I was like, Coach, Jason doesn't listen. Like he gets nervous. So, and they ran a play where they passed the ball to Tony Delk. Tony Delk would run through and circle out, and me and John would say, Jason, don't move. He's coming right back to this spot. So they would swing it to the other side. Jason was sucking. And Sonny, you play that zone, it goes to the outside. The guard sinks in. Yeah. We would tell Jason, don't sink in. Mm-hmm. The point guard up top can't shoot. We're not worried about him. we're worried about Tony.
Yeah.
Tony had the actually the NCAA record for threes because of our game. So long story short, they would pass it. Tony would run through, circle to Jason's side. I would switch sides with Jason each time. They would find Jason. So it got to the point where John got so crazy, called a timeout. John grabbed me by the neck. If you move again, I'm going to strangle you.
Got to get your point across.
That's one way to integrate him.
Gee.
You know, and Bam's like, John, leave him alone. I'm like, you know, and Marison on side, I'm like, man, switch him out then. He's not listening. He's like, I don't know if he's lost in it or whatever, but he wasn't listening. And Tony would throw that thing, then run through the bottom, look for where Jason was, and run out the other side where Jason is. And it was just nerve-wracking. And so we played him to a stalemate. We played him pretty well. It was just for us, and you guys been through it. We just would see every time we would make a run or get ahead, it would be a phantom foul on myself or John. It was like,
well, John fouled out of that game. That was the big turning point, right?
John,
you guys with 2 to go were down 4 with the ball, so you had a shot, and then John fouled out, and that was it, right?
Yep, that was it, and it was just me and then the sub, and we just didn't have it.
Yeah. Wow.
And they played well.
Where was that game played, Z?
That was actually a New York game. It was in the Meadowlands.
It was in the Meadowlands.
Oh, that's right. I remember
that. That was the last small arena game. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you know how you guys went through everything. We were like, I was so excited to be in the Final Four thing, and I'm gonna see this and the big arena, and we end up in the Meadowlands. They're like, oh.
Yeah, this is half the size of the dome.
Right.
I'm in a high school game.
Yeah, right. Felt like a high school gym compared to what you guys were playing. Right. Exactly.
Right.
So now you went a bunch of different places. You played in the CBA, you played in the ABA, but what's intriguing to me is you played with the Harlem Globetrotters. Talk about that for a second. I mean, were you legit on the Globetrotters, or were you with the organization and got beat every night?
That's not right. Yeah,
that's not right at all.
I'm just like, I know people. My brother played on the Generals and got beat like a dog every single night, man.
I'm considered an ambassador of Harlem Globetrotters for life. I got the striped pants.
Nice. You earned your stripes. That's great.
I earned my stripes. Yeah. What's interesting about the Globetrotters is when I first got on, and they were doing the college tour still.
Okay.
So when I joined them, we were playing the college team. So I was still with some pros. I was Ced Sabalas played me, Derek Martin, Keen Watkins. We played Michigan State. Magic played with us. And then I liked it. So I joined the regular Globetrotters, which is, and they do a great job. And the bonus is if you can do the tricks, you can get an extra couple $1,000, extra couple bucks.
Yeah.
So, guys, even regular basketball players after a while, like, I was like, I'm not doing no tricks. But after a while, they're like, hey, we'll give you such. So you're like, okay, let me go in my room and practice.
Yeah.
So, and the interesting about the Globetrotters when we played it is, I don't know how they are now. When it's just playing, we're playing.
Yeah.
But when the music comes on, that's when the tricks are going.
Right.
Yeah.
So my job was to go in and play and get the score up, so that when the guys came on the music and they missed, or they couldn't guard those guys that played on the Generals, to be honest, because some of those guys were JUCO and D1 players.
Yeah.
So when the music came on, they had to follow the routine, but when they got the ball, they was trying to score because they would get a bonus if they could beat us.
Yeah. Did you guys travel with that team, or was it totally separate?
Yeah, they traveled in a separate bus, but we traveled with them. Like we were friends with them. Like we would practice. Like the Globetrotter, a day for a Globetrotter is, I would play in a town. Like say if I played in Syracuse.
Okay.
Like, so let's start in Rochester. We played Rochester on Friday and got Syracuse Saturday. We would play Rochester that night. So we would get to Rochester, practice, go through our routine, go eat, go to the game, play the game. For about an hour late after the game, we would sign autographs. Then we get on the road and go to the next town. So we get to Syracuse. If it's a close town like Syracuse and Buffalo, we would play 2 games that day. So we might play 2 games, Syracuse, and then drive to Buffalo that night. So we might play Syracuse at noon and then play in Buffalo that night. So we would get to town, get to our hotel, put our stuff in, wake up about 10 o'clock, go through our routine for about 2 hours, go back to the hotel, eat, go back to the game, do the game, sign autographs, go to the next city. We played in 3 months, we would play 120 games.
Oof.
That's
We
crazy.
would be in a different town every day, but we rolled well. They treated us well. We stayed in the best hotels. Like, they treated you well.
Yeah.
It actually helps you see a different side of basketball. So it kind of got my love back. Like, I kind of like playing the minor leagues and traveling. I was like, I'm kind of burnt out. I did that. It kind of put me back. And this is where I got my love back. And I played 2 more years. I went to Rochester. I actually got my jersey retired in Rochester after the Globe
Right.
Cup. Won 2 championships in Rochester. But
Uh-huh.
Globetrotters shows you the humane side of basketball, where you sign an autograph, you see the effect you have on kids, you see the exact effect you have as an athlete on people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Pretty cool. Now, did you have some kind of special nickname? Like, they had every year that, Jason Frazier, who played at Villanova a few years after me, was Apollo, and you had Goose Tatum, you had Curly Neal, you had Meadowlark. Did they give you any kind of nickname when you were there, or just Z?
No, I'll dig at you because Syracuse has such a big following. Because everybody knew me as Z, they didn't change it.
Okay.
Because everybody knew me from playing from Syracuse as Z, they didn't change it. So when they would put on a bill like Z from Syracuse is coming to town, the owner even would call me. He's like, man, I never got a buzz as like I get from you. He's like, you Syracuse guys travel. And I was like, yeah. And it's Syracuse, but it's also the Big East. Like, remember, I was still in the Big East days, and we were one of the best things on TV. So people knew who we were.
He
So
also,
he was like, we put it.
to Z's credit, he was the leader of the wristband halfway up the forearm.
It's true.
I gotta tell you, man, that was not a popular. That was Z. That was his. Like Patrick Ewing in a t-shirt. It was Z and the wristband right there.
Everybody's got to have a gimmick, Sonny. That's the
no
thing.
gimmick. That's how he played.
Yes, it is. You're known as the guy with the sweatband up here. That was Michael Jordan too. Another guy who wore sweatbands up like that. So Z, now I know you're working a lot with kids. I know you've done a lot with them. Talk about the work that you're doing with the kids now.
I'm doing training. I was helping kids get into college as well. In this place called On Point for College. I'm down in Florida. I'm training individuals now. I actually got one of the great football players out of Syracuse, Ray Seals, who played for the Steelers and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. His son. Okay. He's down here, so I'm training his son, who's 14 and 6'5" right now. Training a couple girls and a couple guys. I moved down to Tampa, Florida, and I was coaching minor league basketball, pro ball, with league called a TBL. I didn't do it this year. I just focused on family and doing things, but just training and working on kids, trying to get kids to get to where I've been and beyond. So trying to, I don't do it for the money. I'm different from other trainers. Like I see a kid, if I don't see like he's interested and it's just the parent driving him, I tell the parents like, this not going to be for me. We're not going to continue. Because I believe in the craft and I believe in the sport. And if a kid comes to me with khakis on, button-up shirt, I'm like, all right, he doesn't want to play. Like the parents are dropping him off as a daycare. Yeah. And so I just enjoy what I'm doing, and if I can and I enjoy the natural part about like I said, I coached at college, and I love to being on the floor more than I like being in the office, because if I can see you get it and see you grab something, that was more joy for me. Yeah. Like Sonny said, I was a point guard who I like to watching my teammates get my assists and watching them score and dunk and get their threes and watch them cheered and more than me scoring.
Yeah. Well, listen, as we said when we kicked this thing off, you were taking care of your guys, and now you're still taking care of, only you're taking care of the kids now, making them better people and better basketball players. That's really good stuff, man. And thank you so much for joining us. We're up against it, but want to thank you for taking some time out to come and hang with Sonny and I. We really, really enjoyed it, man. Thanks a lot for hanging with us.
Thanks, Z.
I appreciate you guys for having me anytime.
You've been listening to the Big East Rewind with Chuck Everson and Sonny Spera. The Big East Rewind was produced and directed by Nick Chico Chorus and Daryl Gurney. You can check us out on all things social media by putting in Big East Rewind. Send us your comments on the show, some guests you'd like us to try to get on. You can email us at bigeastrewind@gmail.com. And of course, wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, just put Big East Rewind in the search bar and all of our 67 shows or so come up. So thanks a lot for joining us. Have a great night.
Thanks, everybody.